In front of 20,000 screaming Americans, Donald Trump strutted across the stage like a king and publicly branded Jimmy Kimmel Obama's dog, smirking like he'd just ended the man's career with one cheap shot. But Jimmy didn't flinch. Instead, he stepped forward and ripped the mask clean off Trump's face in front of the entire nation, exposing the dirty foreign money, the secret emails, and the raw family corruption that Trump had spent years trying to bury, turning a charity gala into the most brutal, jaw-dropping political takedown America had ever seen live on stage. This wasn't just any show tonight. Over 20,000 people packed into the seats at the Verizon Center in Washington, D.C. Then the music kicked in, that familiar walk-on song, and Donald Trump strutted out onto the stage like he owned the whole damn building. He waved that big signature wave, chin up, smirk already locked in place. The crowd exploded. Half the place lost their minds cheering. The other half booed just as loud. Backstage, Jimmy Kimmel stood just out of sight, gripping the microphone so tight his knuckles turned white. He knew the rules cold. Keep it light, praise the VIPs, no drama that could blow up the night. Organizers had drilled that into him for weeks. But Jimmy wasn't stupid. He had spent days pulling together real stuff. Quotes, old clips, public records, just in case things went sideways. His heart hammered against his ribs, but his face stayed calm when the stage manager gave him the nod. Showtime? Jimmy walked out under the spotlight with that practiced late-night smile, waving at the sea of faces. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest, the 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. He kept the intro smooth and professional, tossing in the usual compliments about leadership and energy that the crowd expected. Nothing fancy, just enough to sound respectful. The applause rolled in heavy as Trump stepped onto the stage, chest out, moving like he was walking into his own rally. Trump grabbed the microphone right away. He didn't wait for Jimmy to finish, didn't even glance at the teleprompter. He looked straight into the crowd, then turned his eyes on Jimmy with that sharp, knowing look. The arena quieted just a notch, everybody leaning in, and then he dropped it, loud and clear, no hesitation. Looks like the boss stopped feeding his dogs, so now they're wagging tails at me. The words landed like a slap. For half a second, the whole place went dead silent while people processed it. Then it hit. Trump had just called Jimmy Kimmel Obama's dog right to his face in front of 20,000 people. Gasps mixed with nervous laughs. Phones shot up to record. Jimmy stood there, jaw tight, staring back without saying a word yet. Then Trump leaned into the mic again, his voice dropping lower, meaner, like he was daring the whole room to keep up. "Too many people trash-talk my family and no one has the right," he said, pointing a finger toward Jimmy. "This is your warning. Think 10,000 times before plotting against the government." The words hit like a gut punch. Gasps ripped through the crowd. Some people shifted in their seats. Others looked at each other like, did he really just say that? Phones were already out, recording every second. The electric buzz in the arena turned sharp and dangerous. Trump's face stayed hard, eyes narrowed, clearly expecting Jimmy to back down or crack. But Jimmy didn't flinch. He took one small step forward, voice calm and steady, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Who exactly are you talking about? Name them." The challenge hung in the air. The crowd leaned forward, hungry for what came next. Trump's smirk came back fast, that cocky twist of the lips he always wore when he thought he had the upper hand. He shrugged like it was nothing. "Smart ones already know," he shot back. Jimmy didn't miss a beat. He looked straight at Trump, then glanced out at the sea of faces watching them. "They told me up front. No drama to ruin this event," he said, loud enough for the cheap seats. His tone stayed even, but everybody heard the steel underneath it. A ripple of applause started in one section, then spread. Not huge, but it was there. People were starting to feel the shift. That's when it happened. A man in a dark suit sitting in the VIP section suddenly shot to his feet. He was maybe 40, clean cut, the kind of guy you'd see in the White House press room. Heads turned. Trump's eyes flicked over, annoyed. Before security could move, the guy grabbed his own mic from the seat tray and yelled into it. "I worked for you, sir. I know exactly who you're threatening." The arena exploded. Shouts, gasps, and wild cheers crashed together. Phones swung toward the ex-staffer like a wave. Trump spun toward the ex-staffer like he'd been slapped. His face turned beet red in seconds, veins popping on his forehead as he jabbed a thick finger at the man in the VIP seats. "You sit down right now," he shouted, voice cracking with rage. Security guards started moving, but before they could reach him, Trump whipped back around to Jimmy. His eyes were burning. He leaned into the microphone, breathing heavy, and growled the words everyone was waiting for. "Are you Obama's dog? Yes or no? Answer me right now, Jimmy." The arena froze for a split second. Then the noise hit like thunder. People were yelling from every corner. Jimmy didn't step back. He didn't even blink. Instead, he grabbed the moment and fired back instantly, his voice clear and cutting through the chaos. "Tell me this. Is Ivanka Barron's real business empire built on clean money? Yes or no?" The words landed like a bomb going off. The entire arena exploded. Gasps, shocked laughter, and wild shouts crashed together all at once. Half the crowd jumped to their feet. Trump's confident smirk disappeared completely. His mouth opened, then snapped shut. For the first time that night, he looked genuinely stunned. The direct shot at his daughter and the old business scandals everyone knew about had caught him flat-footed in front of 20,000 people. Cameras flashed like crazy. Phones were held high, recording every second of his reaction. Trump's temper finally broke wide open. His face twisted with anger as he stepped forward, pointing straight at Jimmy. "You have no idea of my power," he bellowed, spit flying. "Look at Iran. They found out real quick what I can do when I get serious. Who the hell made this clown the host tonight? This is a total disgrace. Get this guy off my stage." The personal attack stung, but Jimmy stayed planted right where he was. Security edged closer to the stage, hands on their belts. But Jimmy raised one hand slightly and spoke again, his voice steady and strong even as the arena roared around him. "You love talking about family first, don't you, Mr. President?" Jimmy said, locking eyes with Trump. "Remember when you said on camera, word for word, 'Nobody loves their family more than I do'? Yet here we are with public records showing millions of dollars funneled through foreign accounts to your family businesses right after you took office. That's not family first. That's family profit." Those exact words hit Trump hard. The crowd went absolutely nuts. One side of the arena erupted in huge cheers and chants of "Jimmy, Jimmy," while the other side booed and screamed "fake news" at the top of their lungs. People were standing on chairs, arguing with each other, waving signs and phones. A couple of small shoving matches broke out in the lower sections. The split was real and loud. Half the room was turning on Trump, the other half was still riding hard for him. The noise was deafening, bouncing off the walls and making the floor shake. Jimmy stood calm in the middle of the storm, breathing steady, eyes never leaving Trump. Trump gripped the microphone tighter, trying to claw back control. His face was still flushed red, but he forced that familiar smirk back on and leaned forward like he was back in charge. "My power is real," he said, voice booming across the arena. "You'll see. You'll all see what happens when you cross me." He nodded like the matter was settled, expecting the crowd to calm down and fall in line. For a second, it almost worked. Some of his supporters cheered, but the energy in the room had already shifted too far. Jimmy took one deliberate step closer to the edge of the stage. The lights caught his face hard. His voice came out ice cold, slow and clear so every single person could hear. Then explain these public records, Mr. President. On February 3rd, 2017, just 2 weeks after you took office, your family businesses received $12.4 million from a Saudi-linked fund. March 12th, another $8.7 million from a Chinese entity. April 22nd, $5.2 million from a Russian oligarch's shell company. These aren't rumors. These are public filings anyone can pull up right now. The arena went dead quiet for a heartbeat as Jimmy read the dates and numbers out loud, like a prosecutor in court. Then the noise hit like a freight train. People were screaming, cheering, booing, standing up in waves. Trump stood completely still. His mouth hung slightly open. No comeback, no smirk, no quick insult. Just pure silence from the man who never shut up. The moment stretched on. 5 seconds, 6, 7, deadly quiet on stage while 20,000 people watched the most powerful man in the room frozen solid. Cameras zoomed in tight on his face. You could see the panic flash across his eyes before he tried to hide it. That's when the ex-staffer in the VIP section raised his mic again and yelled at the top of his lungs, "I saw the emails. I saw every single one of them. I watched them come through the system while I worked for him." The crowd absolutely detonated. The roar was so loud it hurt your ears. Half the arena shot to their feet, chanting, "Truth, truth, truth." The other half screamed insults back at the ex-staffer and at Jimmy. Fights started breaking out in the stands. Security was running down the aisles now, trying to keep order. Phones were everywhere, live streaming to millions watching at home. The ex-staffer stood tall, pointing straight at Trump, his voice still booming through the speakers. This wasn't just one guy anymore. This was living proof, standing right there in front of everyone. Trump finally snapped out of his silence. His face twisted with pure fury as he spun toward the security team nearest the stage. "Get that guy too!" he roared, jabbing his finger hard at the ex-staffer. "Get both of them off this stage right now! Throw them out! Do your job!" Security started moving fast. 2 big guys heading toward the ex-staffer, another pair stepping toward Jimmy. The tension exploded even higher. People were climbing over seats, yelling at the guards, yelling at Trump, yelling at each other. The whole arena had turned into total chaos, and Jimmy still stood there, calm in the middle of the storm, eyes locked on Trump. Trump completely lost it. His face turned purple with rage as he slammed his hand on the podium and screamed into the microphone. "Your garbage talk earns you a reward soon. Throw this guy out, now! Get him off my stage!" The words echoed through the arena like a gunshot. Security guards immediately rushed forward, 2 big men heading straight for Jimmy, while 2 more moved fast toward the ex-staffer in the VIP section. The crowd screamed louder. Jimmy stood his ground as the guards got within arm's reach, their hands already reaching out to grab him. For a split second it looked like it was going physical. Shoulders tense, bodies closing in, the whole place on the edge of total meltdown. But Jimmy raised his hand sharply, palm out, and the guards actually hesitated for a beat. His voice cut through the chaos, calm but sharp as a blade. "I'll walk myself, but before I do, the people deserve one last truth. The same truth you've been warning everyone not to say." The arena fell into a stunned hush. Every eye locked on Jimmy. Trump looked furious, still pointing, but even he went quiet for a moment. Jimmy stared straight at him, then spoke the final line, slow and clear, his voice carrying through every speaker in the building. "You told your own staff to hide those emails because they proved you were selling access to the White House. Your family got rich while you told America to trust you. That's not power, that's corruption." The mic drop hit like a hammer. The ex-staffer's earlier scream about the emails suddenly made perfect sense. The crowd erupted in absolute pandemonium. Half the arena shot to their feet, roaring and cheering, chanting, "Truth! Truth! Truth!" so loud the walls shook. The other half sat there stunned, some looking confused, others shouting insults and "fake news" back at the stage. Fights started breaking out again in the stands. People were crying, yelling, hugging strangers. Phones were held up everywhere, live streaming the moment to the entire country. Security froze, unsure what to do next. Trump stood on stage breathing hard, looking smaller than he had all night. Jimmy gave one last look at the crowd, then turned his back, head high, and started walking slowly toward the exit ramp. No one touched him. The roar followed him every step of the way, growing even louder as he disappeared behind the curtain. Trump tried to save face. He grabbed the podium with both hands and leaned in, voice cracking as he shouted, "This is ridiculous! Fake news! This guy is a total loser! We're not done here!" But his words fell flat. The crowd had already flipped. What started as mixed cheers and boos had turned into a full roar against him. Boos rained down from every section now. Even some of his own supporters sat quiet, staring at the stage in shock. The energy in the building had completely flipped 180 degrees in under a minute. Then the ex-staffer raised his arms in the VIP section and started chanting at the top of his lungs, "Truth! Truth! Truth!" Within seconds, pockets of the crowd joined in. First a few dozen voices, then hundreds, then thousands. The chant grew into a thunderous wave that shook the entire arena. "Truth! Truth! Truth!" Feet stomped the floor, fists pumped in the air. The sound was so loud it felt like the roof might come down. People who had been sitting stunned just moments ago were now standing and screaming along. The ex-staffer kept pointing at Trump, his face fierce and unafraid, feeding the fire even more. Jimmy kept walking, never looking back. His footsteps still boomed through the speakers until he reached the edge of the stage and disappeared behind the black curtain. But the roar didn't stop. It followed him out, echoing louder and louder as the chant spread through every corner of the arena. The cheers were deafening, rolling like a tidal wave that refused to die down. On stage, Trump stood completely alone under the bright lights. His face had gone pale, almost gray. The usual red flush of anger was gone, replaced by something colder, shock mixed with disbelief. His right hand hung loosely at his side, the microphone dangling from his fingers like he'd forgotten it was even there. He looked small, exposed. The man who had walked out like a king now stood frozen while the entire building chanted against him. Cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of it. The night that started with a sly insult had ended with a complete takeover. Jimmy Kimmel had walked out on his own terms, head high, and left the arena forever changed. The echoes of truth still thundered on as the lights slowly dimmed over a very quiet, very alone Donald Trump.